Hey guys, this is Seb from Orden Ogan and Angus Mc6, and you're watching CMS TV.
All right, I want you to try and visualize something for a second. Imagine this massive, incredibly complex machine. I mean, it's built out of steel trusses, huge sound systems, these intricate legal contracts, and thousands of people.
Right.
It's all fueled by nostalgia, and it's greased with about $100 million in projected revenue. It's just speeding down the track, picking up momentum, ready to launch.
And then it just stops.
Snap, exactly. One single bolt fails. One biological component just gives out, and this entire $100 million train derails in an instant.
That's a terrifying image when you put it that way, but it's pretty accurate. We're really looking at a head-on collision between an unstoppable force in the music industry and this immovable object, which is just the reality of the human body.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are digging into a story that just broke, and on the surface, sure, it's just a concert cancellation. A band said no to a tour.
Right. Happens all the time.
But when we went through the stack of sources for this one, especially the raw, unfiltered reports from Metal Sludge and the actual press releases, we realized this is about so much more than refunded tickets.
Oh, absolutely. We are looking at the sudden total collapse of the Twisted Sister 50th anniversary tour. This was supposed to be the Golden Jubilee.
1976 to 2026.
50 years.
And just to set the stakes here, this wasn't some small club run. This wasn't a let's play 3 casinos and go home kind of thing.
No. This was a global trek. It was scheduled to kick off April 25th in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The posters were printed, the dates were set, the hype machine was at full blast.
And as of today, February 2026, it is all gone. Canceled.
And the source material here is fascinating because it gives us the cancellation. But it also hints at a very complex, messy why. It involves a medical emergency for sure, but also these deep layers of irony, band infighting.
And the stark reality of aging in a genre that is obsessed with youth and power.
Yeah.
So, our mission today is to unpack this disaster. We need to figure out how a band goes from announcing a massive world tour to a sudden and unexpected resignation in the blink of an eye.
And what this all signals for the era of classic rock in general. Because if Twisted Sister, the band that screamed, "We're not going to take it," can't hack it,
then who can?
that is the ultimate question. And to answer it, we have to start with the announcement itself. We pulled the reports directly from Metal Sludge.
Okay, and we should probably pause here because if you aren't familiar with Metal Sludge, we need to explain the vibe of that source. It definitely colors the story.
Oh, yeah. This isn't the Wall Street Journal. Metal Sludge is gritty.
It's old school dirt dishing rock journalism. It's raw.
It is. They have a disclaimer that essentially says, we aren't responsible for offensive comments, but also you have no right to free speech here. We own this site.
Right.
It creates this very specific, aggressive atmosphere.
It's the kind of place that literally lists a penis chart in the sidebar to tell you which rock stars are. Well, you get the idea.
Exactly. It's raunchy. It's blunt. It does not care about your feelings. So when news breaks there, it's usually stripped of any PR polish.
And the wording they reported for this cancellation was incredibly specific. It cites the sudden and unexpected resignation of frontman Snider.
Resignation. It feels so corporate for a heavy metal band, doesn't it?
It really does. You expect stepping back or taking a hiatus. Resignation sounds like a CEO getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
It implies a unilateral decision,
Yeah.
a hard stop. And the official statement from the other members, Jay French and Eddie Ojeda, confirms all shows through the summer are just wiped out.
But when you dig into the details in the source material, you realize this wasn't really a choice Snider wanted to make.
No. The universe made it for him.
Let's get into the medical reality, because this is where the deep dive gets a little biological. We know Snider is 70 years old.
Right.
Now, in 2026, 70 is the new 50 for a lot of people. You see 70-year-olds running marathons or running countries. But for a heavy metal frontman,
It is a completely different physiological requirement. I mean, the report states Snider is suffering from severe degenerative arthritis.
and when we hear that word arthritis, we think of, a stiff knee when it rains. But
Yeah.
this is This is on another level.
Yeah, this context means the cartilage that cushions your joints is basically gone.
So every movement is bone grinding on bone.
Precisely. And now think about Dee Snider's stage persona. He isn't standing at a microphone stand just snapping his fingers.
No, he stomps, he jumps, he headbangs, he contorts his body.
Doing that with degenerative arthritis would be excruciating.
The report mentions he hasn't just been dealing with this with some ibuprofen. He's been undergoing multiple surgeries over the years just to keep the whole machine running.
He's been operating under the hood, constantly repairing the damage. But the arthritis was just the pain. The real stopper, and the new information from the source material, is the cardiovascular issue.
This was the part that really stood out to me. The report says the level of intensity of his performance has taken a serious toll on his heart.
We have to contextualize this. We're not just talking about getting tired. When you perform at the level of intensity Twisted Sister demands, your heart rate is elevated to near maximum for, 90 minutes? 2 hours?
It's the equivalent of running a sprint that lasts for an entire concert.
While screaming at the top of your lungs.
And doing that at age 70.
It becomes a math problem that the heart just can't solve anymore. The source indicates his heart literally cannot handle that rock and roll fury. It's not about willpower. It's about pump failure.
There's a quote from Snider in the press release that's actually, it's quite heartbreaking in this context. He says, "I don't know of any other way to rock."
The idea of slowing down is unacceptable to me.
That's the crux of the tragedy right there. He's saying, I can't do this at 50%. He refuses to be the guy sitting on a stool. He'd rather not exist as a performer at all than be mediocre.
The phrase he used was, "I'd rather walk away than be a shadow of my former self."
And Metal Sludge referenced a classic Dirty Harry line to sum it all up.
The man's got to know his limitations. It seems Dee Snider finally hit the wall where his willpower just couldn't overcome his biology.
But let's zoom out for a second. Because while the medical side is personal, the consequences are massive. We mentioned the number at the top of the show, $100 million.
It's just a staggering figure.
And when we say that, I think people assume that's just the band's paycheck. Like Dee and the guys are missing out on a giant payday. But when a tour of this size gets canceled, that money just vanishes from an entire ecosystem, right?
Oh, absolutely. It triggers this cascade of financial failure.
Yeah.
You have to think about the promoters who fronted the deposit money. That capital is now tied up. Think about the venues in Sao Paulo, in Europe, in the U.S. that blocked out dates.
Now they have dark nights with no revenue. And the crew.
The crew is the hidden victim here. Lighting designers, sound engineers, truck drivers, guitar techs. These are specialized workers who probably turned down other tours for this.
And now they're unemployed for the season? That's a whole economy just left high and dry.
And we can't forget the fans. The source calls them the SMFs.
The sick mother. Well, yes, the dedicated fan base. Metal Sludge describes the aftermath as an endless train of refunds. That just sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It's administrative chaos. Unwinding a global tour is almost as hard as booking one. But, looking at the sources, there's an argument to be made that this machine was already rattling before it even left the station. Even if Dee Snider had the heart of a 20-year-old Olympic athlete, this reunion was already steeped in drama.
You're talking about the lineup. Because this wasn't a full Kumbaya reunion, was it?
No. And that's a key nuance that gets missed in the headlines. You had the core trio, Dee, Jay French, and Eddie Ojeda. On drums, they brought in Joe Franco.
Which makes sense. Their original drummer, AJ Perot, sadly passed away a while back. So bringing in a pro like Franco, who has history with the band, is a respectful standard move. Nobody really faults them for that.
Right. But the bass player situation, that's where the whole family reunion vibe just completely falls apart.
Mark Mendoza, the animal. A huge part of their classic sound and image. And he was completely absent from this roster.
And it wasn't a health thing for him, was it?
No. The report is very blunt. It says Mendoza did not want to participate due to irreconcilable differences.
Irreconcilable differences. That's divorce court language. That's not, "I'm busy" or "my back hurts." That is, "I cannot stand to be in a room with you people."
It really changes the flavor of the whole tour, doesn't it?
It does. They replace him with Russell Zutto. So you have to understand, this tour that got canceled, it was already a compromised version of the band. It kind of paints a picture of a venture driven, maybe more by that $100 million figure than by a genuine desire to play music together.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room. The absolute undeniable irony of Dee Snider, of all people, trying to launch a massive comeback tour.
This is my favorite part of the research, I have to say. If you actually track Dee Snider's public statements over the last 5 years, it plays out like a Shakespearean tragedy of hypocrisy.
It is wild. We have the receipts here. So let's go back to July 2022. Dee Snider is on social media. He's very vocal, and he decides to go after Kiss.
Right. He's always been critical of bands that don't know when to quit. He sees himself as the arbiter of rock integrity.
Critical is putting it mildly. He compared Kiss's farewell tour to, and I am quoting the source here, a fart in a paper bag.
It's a vivid image, to say the least.
He was calling out what he saw as fake farewell bullshit. He was basically saying, if you say goodbye, then actually leave. Don't milk the fans.
And he doubled down on this in February 2023. In an interview with Ultimate Guitar, he calls bands who do the farewell tour and then come back a pile of dog shit. He was incredibly dogmatic about the rules of retirement.
But wait, there's more. He even told a story about Alice Cooper. Alice said he wanted to be on stage performing at 80. And Snider told him to his face, dude, that's not for me.
He swore he was done.
Yeah.
He said, I promise you, when it comes to Twisted Sister, I am done. He drew a line in the sand. I will never be that guy.
And yet, fast forward to September 10th, 2025. 2 years later, what happens?
A press release drops.
Oh.
In 2026, Twisted Fucking Sister will hit stages around the world because we still want to rock.
So let's unpack the psychology here. He went from calling comebacks a pile of dog shit to booking the biggest comeback of his life. How does that happen? What goes on in the brain of a rock star to flip that switch?
Well, it's the conflict between the ego and the reality. The ego craves the applause. It craves the relevance. And let's be honest, it craves the lifestyle that $100 million provides.
Right.
I think he rationalized it. He probably looked in the mirror and said, I look good. I sound good. The fans want it. I'm not like Kiss. I'm different.
He convinced himself he was the exception to his own rule.
Exactly. He thought he could beat the clock.
Yeah.
But then biology stepped in and cast the deciding vote.
That's the cosmic joke here. He was finally willing to become the thing he mocked, the cash grab comeback act, but his body physically wouldn't let him be a hypocrite.
It forced him to stay honest. He's now retired, not because he chose to stick to his principles, but because he collapsed under the weight of trying to break them.
It's like the universe said, you said you'd rather walk away than be a shadow. Okay, prove it. Walk away.
And now he has to. And frankly, I want to pose a theory here. This might actually save his legacy.
How do you mean? Losing $100 million saves your legacy.
Just imagine if the tour had happened. Imagine if he went out there, ignored the doctors, and performed at 50% capacity.
Right.
Imagine him clutching his chest during We're Not Gonna Take It, or shuffling around the stage looking frail, unable to hit the notes.
That becomes the meme. That becomes the YouTube clip everyone remembers forever.
Exactly. That becomes the obituary. By canceling now, as painful and expensive as it is, he freezes the band in our minds as they were. Powerful, loud, dangerous.
He adheres to the Dirty Harry quote. He acknowledged his limitations before the audience had to see them.
So in a way, the cancellation protects the legend, even if it hurts the bank account. It preserves the memory of strength.
Now, Twisted Sister isn't the only band operating in this space. The source material draws some really interesting comparisons to other legends, and it paints a picture of a very weird time in rock history.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, there's a comparison to Rush.
Oh, the Rush news is just mind-bending if you follow this stuff.
I thought Rush was the gold standard for doing it right. Neil Peart, the drummer, the soul of the band, he couldn't play anymore because of physical issues, so they stopped. They retired at the top.
And Dee Snider used to praise them for that. He held Rush up as the example of dignity. He'd say, look at Rush, they knew when to fold him.
But the report says Rush is back.
Yes. According to the updates in our source stack, Rush has announced a return to the road. They brought in Annika Nils on drums to fill Neil Peart's shoes.
So let me get this straight. The band Snider praised for staying retired has come out of retirement, just as Snider tried to come out of retirement and failed.
The script has been completely flipped. It really shows that never say never is the only true rule in this business. No matter how dignified the exit, the lure of the stage or the money is incredibly powerful.
But there's a darker, more final context in the notes here too. We have to mention Ace Frehley.
Yeah. This anchors the whole discussion to something much heavier. Ace Frehley, the original spaceman from Kiss. The report mentions he passed away recently, October 16th, 2025.
And it's not just that he's gone, it's what's happening to his legacy tangibly.
Right. There's an auction mentioned. His gear, specifically, his iconic smoking guitar, one of the most famous props in rock history, is on the block, starting at $100,000.
It's chilling. On one hand, you have Snider canceling a tour because performing might kill him. On the other, you have Frehley, who is already gone, and his tools are just being sold off to the highest bidder.
It really frames 2025 and 2026 as an extinction event. We are watching the tangible dismantling of the classic rock gods. They are either dying, like Ace, or their bodies are finally prohibiting them from performing, like D.
It feels like we are reaching the end of the Forever Tour.
We are hitting a hard biological wall. For decades, we thought these guys were invincible. Keith Richards, Ozzy, D. Snider, we thought they'd just keep going. But we're learning that even heavy metal rusts.
You know, we mentioned metal sludge earlier, the source for all this. I want to circle back to that for a second because it adds a layer to Snider's situation.
Go on.
We talked about how aggressive that site is, the penis chart, the you have no free speech here. It's a clubhouse for the most toxic masculine elements of 80s rock culture.
It is. It celebrates excess.
So for D. Snider to have to admit weakness there, that's significant, isn't it?
That is a very astute point. In an environment that celebrates being hard, admitting that you are physically broken is taboo. For him to come out to this specific audience, the sludge audience, and say, I am physically broken, I can't do it, that must have been incredibly difficult.
It's admitting vulnerability in a room full of sharks.
It is. And it perhaps shows just how serious the medical condition is. He couldn't spin this. He couldn't fake it. He had to lay it out bare to the very people who would mock him the most for it.
So let's bring this all together. We have a canceled tour, a furious frontman, a confused fan base, and $100 million up in smoke. What's the big takeaway here for the listener?
I think the takeaway forces us to ask a difficult question about our role as fans. We keep buying the tickets. We keep demanding the shows. We want our heroes to be immortal.
We want to see them on stage forever. We want that nostalgia hit.
But by demanding that, are we encouraging these zombie tours? Are we pushing 70 and 80-year-old men to risk heart failure just so we can hear a song we've already heard 1,000 times?
That's the provocative thought for today. With Ace gone and Dee medically retired, maybe it's time we, as fans, learn to let go. Maybe we should respect the silence as much as we love the noise.
Is it better to burn out or fade away? Or in this case, simply cancel the dates, refund the money, and go home to heal?
I think D. Snider just gave us the answer, whether he wanted to or not.
I think you're right.
Something to think about next time you see a farewell tour announcement. Is it really a farewell or just a pause before the biology catches up? Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Keep thinking.
See you next time.